When I think of this trip, I see David and me in the front seat of his car. He wants something better than he has. I want precisely what he has already.
I have just completed a dance party that I was holding on my own. So
Oh
I'm
my
like
gosh.
super amped up.
Yeah.
I was
in the hallway?
Yeah, it was the hallway dance party solo, and everybody sitting out there would not join in.
Right.
So that's how we're coming into this interview.
Cool.
I see.
And instead of like asking a very heady question, because
Yeah.
so many of those came out of this movie for me.
Favorite dance? Is that what you're gonna ask?
Is just favorite dance.
That's the
Oh, wow.
Watusi.
is just.
Wow.
Of course, it's the Watusi.
Yeah.
Which I feel like is also a city in America somewhere.
What's it called?
The Watusi.
What is it?
It's an old timey-
Watusi.
It's an old timey
Oh, like a
dance.
20s kind of
Yeah,
flapper thing?
that's
Okay,
right.
yeah.
Similarly to a certain
Charleston.
scene in this movie that we're not going to spoil for people.
Hmm.
You look like you could cut a rug.
I have. Yeah. And then
With
I
scissors,
sew them
but-
right back up.
I love the idea of two actors that I really enjoy spending a lot of time in cars together.
You probably like that Jerry Seinfeld show.
I definitely do for that exact
Yeah.
reason. Well, so when the camera stopped rolling, like, what was your car culture like?
That's an interesting question because there is a real answer to that. We were doing, a lot of those car scenes ended up being some of the more intense scenes in the movie. I think by nature of the fact that you're trapped in a car, there's
Sure.
not really an escape hatch. So I think that in between those scenes, we tried to make each other laugh as the car would return to start position, just to make sure that the movie stayed the right tone. This isn't even when you listen to the interviews. This is never a movie where they are screaming at each other.
Nope. They
It's
don't have to.
Yeah, that's right. They're smart enough that they don't have to scream. They can use very precise language. And so we tried to just stay in a headspace where things stayed at that level, I think.
That's actually one of my favorite scenes in the movie, when you have two smart dudes arguing over a chick, and they're not really arguing over a chick.
Right.
And then the beer comes out, and it's like, well, at least that feels familiar to me.
The way you just described it sounds like it's a different kind of movie.
I know, right? It's actually
Two dudes
interesting.
arguing over chicken, and then beer comes out. End of the tour, August 9th. Yeah.
Come along for the ride.
Yeah, exactly. Bring the beer, we'll supply the chicks. Hey, isn't it reassuring to have a lot of people read you?
I think if the book is about anything,
Yeah.
it's about the question of why. Why am I doing it? And what's so American about what I'm doing?
I thought about how interesting it was to see the movie last night that set us up directly for this moment, where you guys are participating in interviews.
Yeah, sure.
Right.
And I don't think I'd ever want to be on your side.
Thank you.
There's
Yes, no, you're right. That's like, it's scary. Like, you don't want to reveal anything, but you have to.
What's this story about in your mind?
Just what it's like to be the most talked about writer in the country, that sort of thing.
You're like a nervous guy, huh?
No, I'm okay. How are you?
Because I'm terrified.
And there's also this other thing where you are, in life, like as I just did, you might take a pause to think about something before you say it, which is not something that you're really allowed to do in an interview, especially a televised on-camera interview. Like,
Sure.
for me to take a 1-minute pregnant pause to answer my favorite dance question would be odd. And
Yeah.
so a lot of times you'll say something because there's a rhythm to an interview.
And you're a human.
Yeah, that's right. And you're a human being, and then the interview ends, and you're like, well, I would have worded that differently.
I would have said the Charleston.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's exactly right. And so it's a very vulnerable position because now this thing that you have just said is forever.
Is a forever
in today's
thing.
culture.
Yeah.
And there's a great line in the movie where David Foster Wallace says to Lipsky, if we could do this interview by the mail, and I had access to my library, I could come across as really smart, but I don't think
Yeah.
I can quite keep up with you.
There you are in that moment with a real person, and here we are with lights, and the whole thing kind of tripped me out when I thought, man, how's this going to go tomorrow? Because
Right.
they need to be vulnerable,
Yeah.
and I need to make it a safe space for them, and that's kind of the weirdness of this whole thing.
Yeah, because when this
Right.
interview airs, do they even show your question?
Yes, we do.
Right.
Mostly because I talk too much and I do weird things like
Right,
try to
right,
mime the
right.
Watusi
Yeah.
or things
You
like
can't
that.
edit it out. It's like in our shot. Yeah.
Or else it makes less than zero
Yeah.
sense.
Right.